All right, all right. What's going on, family? It's your brother DJ Sam Rock, and you're listening and watching the Blaze Bible Study. It's a special episode, though, because we have a special guest. I have a friend of mine. We go way back, man. I'm talking about way back. As a matter of fact, he even sent me a book, and in the front of the book, my wife didn't even believe me because she doesn't remember a lot of things. But he wrote to my friend Sam. We go way back since 12 Reasons. That's a CD that I did way in the 90s, in the late 90s, probably early 2000, but I'm pretty sure it was the late 90s when I first moved out here to Allentown from New York. We since became men and have evolved. That's deep right there, but never strayed away from loving God. God bless you, my brother, your family, and your ministry. Thanks for being a real one. By the author right there, Alonzo Zo, and we're going to be talking to the brother in a couple of minutes. We're going to bring him on. He wrote a book of poetry called Poems for You and Yours, man. And he got a 5-star review, and it says another thought-provoking and eclectic mix of poetry from one of America's leading contemporary poets. That was from Robin Barrett, editor of the Poet magazine out of the United Kingdom. So all the selections that we're going to be talking about, all the ideas, everything was written and conceived and arranged by the brother Zo that we're going to get up on in a minute. But I just want to give you some background of who we're about to bring on. Because he's been busy at work. He's never given up on his dream. That's a powerful thing for the younger generation to realize, to never give up on your dream. When you have a talent, when you have a gift, it's not really for us. It's for us to put out there, to share it with others, to inspire others to dream as well. So here we go. Alonzo, a.k.a. Zo, that's why I know him as Zo Gross, or zO-AlonzO, is a poet, a songwriter, a rap artist, an actor, dancer, recording artist, playwright, and screenwriter. His short stories were first published internationally in 2005 and in 2006 in the Staying Sane book series published by Evelyn Fazio. Staying Sane When Family Comes to Visit, 2005, and Staying Sane During the Thanksgiving Holiday. His first book of poems entitled Inspiration, Harmony, and the World Within was published in 2012. Also, in that same year, he was awarded Best Spoken Word Poet at the Lehigh Valley Music Awards. In 2016, Zo was selected as a featured poet in the film Voices, directed by Gina Nemo, hope I'm not butchering names here, filmed in Los Angeles, California, and released in 2017 in select theaters as well as Amazon Prime. Then in January of 2018, he released his second book of poetry entitled Soul Elixir, The Writings of Zo, which was greeted with rave reviews and a 5 out of 5-star ratings. So in November 2020, Zo was named as one of the best poets of 2020 by Inner Child Press, where his work was featured in their anthology. And it goes on and on and on, and I'm pretty sure he'll let us in on what's happening from that point to now. He's getting awards everywhere, man. Every time I look at the screen on social media, on TV, on our radio networks, and on our TV shows locally, man, he keeps on getting awards, and that's good. So let me introduce you, Alonzo Gross. I'm going to bring him on right now. What's going on, my brother, my friend? How you doing, man?
Good, brother. How you doing? Good to see you, man.
Amen, amen.
Go
So
way back.
It's been a while, man, since we physically seen each other. So it's good to see you, although it's via, online, but it's all good, man. So how you been so far,
good.
bro?
I'm good, man. Just blessed. I'm staying busy, man. The book just it's in its season, man. It's doing it's God's moving it, man. I can't even explain it. It's so surreal. All the things that are happening behind the book, and it's just very grateful to be on this ride, man.
But that's good, man. So what I'm hearing is that you said it's in its season. So how long for this project? How long did it actually take you to compile? There's a lot of poetry in this book, man. How long did it take you to compile this whole book and then take it to conception, creation, to publication? How long did that whole entire process take for this book?
Took about 3 years because I started before COVID hit, and I was writing poems and just getting it, trying to get an idea what I wanted to write. And then when the COVID hit, we're all forced to stay inside. So I was like, okay, now I have time to really focus. And then I started getting claustrophobic, and I had to really, focus on not getting, crazy. It was really crazy out there. So I had to still focus on the book, and try to get like a central theme of the book, and I just let it guide me, wherever it takes me, wherever God leads it. I was letting it lead me there. So from that point, I just started making maybe a poem a day. And what I do, I write my poems the same way I create my albums. I'll make like 300 poems, and then see which ones fit in the particular book. The other ones go to different books, or they go into like a anthology. So I had to pick out all the ones that would fit in this family of this book, and that took about like 2 years to do that. Again, with the COVID thing, we've never experienced that before. I'd never experienced that, so it was like really, really shocking to go through that. So I was still trying to focus and get that. And at the same time, I became a new father at that time, like twice over. I became a father. And then we had, was just juggling all of that. So the whole process, about 3 years, and I'm very, me, I'm very perfectionist with my stuff. I like the stuff a certain way.
Yeah.
So I was like, I knew I was getting on my publisher's nerves, but I was trying to get it to be a certain way. And if you look at the book, I wanted it to look like an album. That's why it says written, arranged, and conceived. I got that from looking at Prince albums. Prince album would say written, arranged, and it's not to put it out there. It's just to say that it was me just trying to focus and do that all myself and present it to the people. Like you said before, it's not really for me. I look at the book as a collaboration between God and myself. God being the artist, me being the instrument. So I'm just grateful that I was able to focus and see it through to fruition how it is now.
Wow. And it seems like I like the whole title, Poems for You and Yours. So in other words, This is a book, a compilation of all the concepts, ideas, there's pain in here, right? There's happiness, there's joy in here. There's confrontation in here. As I was going through it last night, I was like, there's a lot in here. A lot of life is in here. So I would say that as a writer, I write every night. I just wrote one book. It's a mini book. It's funny because when I put the book out, a lot of people are saying that's not a book. That's like a pamphlet or whatever. But then I was looking in the scriptures one day, and there's a book of James that's like 2 pages. There's a book of Jude that's like pretty much 2 pages as well. And those are considered books. I think a book is when you put your ideas together, you compile the ideas, and you publish it, and it reaches somebody else's, mindset. I believe that's a book, and we put it together. But I was going through it, man, and I was like, the titles are on point. A lot of it is like, it's so artistic, and I'm not used to reading poetry like that. I read the Bible, of course. I read some novels. I still read and write to this very day. I love reading and writing. And but what I was catching on it, I was catching a vibe of like so many different parts of your life. You know what I mean? Like some areas that I knew you when I first got to know you, and then it looks like you said in the first page when I read it, when you sent me the book, it says we evolved because there's a lot that happened from the time we met till today. But the book is being received well, man. You're getting accolades all over the place. I'm going to be putting you send me pictures of some of the awards. I'm going to be putting that on the details of the video underneath. And there's a lot here, man. Can you you have any idea of how you feel that it was so received like right away? How do you think that all happened?
Like I said, they're not really receiving my work. They're receiving God's work. God guided that. So it's I always feel like when people get writer's block, the reason why they get writer's block is because they're trying to write it rather than let, something write through it. It's not about thinking something up. It's about getting it down and letting God do the rest. So it's the way I see it. This is a celebration for God's work. I'm just an instrument, like I said, on this earth to get it out. But it's a confirmation that God is still with me. He still loves me enough to create things through me. So I see it as people still loving God. They love the book. They still believe in that the higher power. So it doesn't surprise me. I'm not saying that to be big-headed, but it doesn't surprise me because God's a great artist. People forget God's creative. He created the universe. They forget that he's real dope at what he does.
Oh yeah, so, definitely. So how does this work? So now that you're getting awards, and I see also you're still doing music. I'm pretty sure you're still dancing, right?
Yeah. But some,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you still do music, still dancing, and I believe the young lady you're with as well, is that your wife or your
Yes, my
significant
wife. We've been
other?
married
Yeah.
for 9 years.
It's part
She's
of it
the
too. It's part of the deal
oh
too, right?
yes,
Using her gifts and
absolutely.
talents as well, right?
Yep.
So what I'm getting at is you never gave up on the dream. So I know a lot of people around my age, you're probably younger. I know you're younger than me, but around our
Mhm.
age, a lot of people start losing and they start feeling like, this is never going to happen. My book is not going to ever be released. My music's not going to be received anymore. But I love to see a person that continues. They don't stop. They don't give up.
Yeah.
It might be a little layoff. Kids happen, life happens,
Oh yeah.
but you don't give up on that dream. So when his book started getting the awards and all that, how does that work now? Does it put you on different platforms where normally a book that, like the book I wrote, it didn't get any awards or anything like that? It helped some people out, all glory to God, but it didn't get to a place where it started receiving awards. It opened up some friendships, some avenues for ministry, but it didn't get like to where your book is getting through the poetry. So how does that help out, like when you start getting the awards and everything? So that way, an inspiring like poet right now that's watching and listening could get some ideas of how that all will pan out.
It helps out because it feels like if you just, like I said, if you just stay the course. I don't get me wrong. I took some time off before I got frustrated. I stopped for like a year or so. I said this ain't gonna happen, and that's when I met my wife. And I'm sure God sent her into my life for that, for one of those reasons. And she told me to keep going with it. You're not too old, just keep doing it. And and then I was reading something in I love reading the 10 talents about when God got mad at the people for not using their talents. I'm like, I don't want God to get mad at me just because it's taken so long.
Mm,
And I feel like God, he wants soldiers. He doesn't want people that are going to quit because it didn't happen right away. So I feel like it's an obligation. It's my pleasure, but it's an obligation and it's a duty for us artists to keep going, whether we're famous or not, whether we get accolades or not. So I saw it that way I looked at it more as a calling rather than just like a hobby or something to blow up with. And when I looked at it at that perspective of saying, this is not for me, this is for the world. This is for people to inspire other people. It was at that point that the book started picking up and people started responding to it in that way. I had to
mm.
change my perspective about it though,
Wow,
because
wow.
yeah, because before I always had the attitude, I'm never going to blow up, and God's like, it's not about you blowing up, it's about you inspiring that other person, and then we all have a role to play as artists. Like somebody might inspire me, and then I'll write something that might inspire this person. I may not meet this person or ever meet him or ever see him, but because of something I may have wrote, they might pick up a pen or stop using drugs or anything like that. So we have an obligation.
That's
So
it.
I just saw it as a deeper meaning than having a. And ironically, when I did that, that's when these things started happening, these awards, and I'm like, wow. But I never look at it as, again, as me winning. I'm celebrating with God that grateful to be able to translate these things for people in the world and stuff.
Wow, wow. So what inspired you? Like when did you find out in your life that you were gonna be headed as an artist, musician, a dancer, a rap artist, a writer? Like who or what inspired you to do that? Did you realize that that was like your calling early on in life when you was a kid, or you just came to be that later on in life, maybe as a teenager or as a young man?
It started when I was really young, like maybe when I was 3 years old. I
Mm.
was always my mother always would read to me like Dr. Seuss books, believe it or not.
Ah, yeah.
And Dr. Seuss, if you listen to Dr. Seuss, there's the cadence, there's the flow. If you put Dr. Seuss behind any hip hop beat, it'll match up. And when I would hear that, and even now you might see like the Migos or somebody messing around with "Rocket in Your Pocket," and it works with their beats. So I heard that was way before rap even came out, and I would hear those things as a child and see those vivid pictures. That's why I include those pictures in my works. I would see those vivid pictures, those creative pictures that Dr. Seuss would have in his books, and that really inspired me as a kid. And I just stayed with that and the writing and everything. And then my brother taught me a lot. The dancing and rap came after that, so it was a natural progression. But I've always had a love also for literature, like Shakespeare and Robert Frost and James Baldwin. So I had this thing where I was able to read, like, I love literature, but I love hip hop, and I wanted to put those things together. And that's what the book's about. The book it's a combination of English literature and rap, like they're a child together.
Wow.
But that all started when I was much younger, having a mother that nourished that and a brother that was a DJ. So I would hear all these songs before they hit their radio, I hear these songs that would come out. And he would explain to me about the artist. And he explained to me about the difference between a rap artist and a rapper. He'd say, this guy Nas, he's a rap artist. This other guy, so-and-so, is a rapper. So you want to be a rap artist. So I always looked at myself, as aspiring to be an artist, because artists are the ones that inspire the world, that inspire people. And I just wanted to do that. But I do that at a very young age. Like I said, my perspective was different because I was looking at fame and wanted to be like on stage and have all the women and stuff. And that wasn't meant for me to do it like that way, And it wasn't until I changed my perspective again and saw that it was, it's deeper than that. It's much deeper than money, that
Wow.
things started like really, really happening. But that came, like I said, at a very young age. The seed was already planted. My mother is a writer too. My brother's a writer, and we all love to read as well. And I was always wanted to see my books like in stores and bookshelves. I've always
Yeah.
been one of my dreams to do that. So I just always kept that in my mind to do that. And like I said, I love rap. As you know, I love rap music too, and I studied all the people that rap. And I noticed that the rappers I really gravitate towards were the ones that had like a poetic thing to them,
Right.
like Nas.
Right.
He's very poetic.
Yes.
Kendrick Lamar, very poetic. DMX, rest in peace, very poetic. And I would always think, what is it about these guys that really make me cry when I hear their stuff and really pulls at me? And it was that poetic background they had.
Mm.
So that inspired me to when I went to school at the Temple to study English literature.
Mhm.
And I was blessed to have the Sonia Sanchez, the poet, as one of my teachers for a whole year. And we studied, traditional poetry, but we also studied Tupac and we studied Langston Hughes. And she loved rap music. So she told me, she said, if you can combine just English lit with your rap, you'll be something else. I'm like, what? So
That's a
I
good
never thought
idea.
about that. Yeah, so I did that. And long story short, in Barnes and Nobles, my book is right next to hers, Sonia Sanchez. And it's just ironic because she was my teacher at Temple. And to see
Wow.
that come to full circle, I'm like, wow, she was right. And I'm right next to her. So
Wow.
I was grateful to have a lot of teachers in my life at an early age to guide me through. And then,
Yeah,
here
so
we
you were
are
being
from there
set up. You were being groomed all along. He
all
was
along.
nurturing the dream that he placed in your heart. So
Yeah.
let's get to it, man. I know you probably heard this question a lot in a lot of interviews, but what is your favorite poem in here, man? What are your favorite selections here? I know there's a lot here, um, but I would imagine that you have some favorites, right? So I don't know
Uh,
if you want to read some of these selections inside the book.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so and then you could give us a background why those were the ones that were most heartfelt. I'll leave that
All
to
right.
you.
Okay. One of my ones that I like, my favorites, is a piece I wrote called "Oh My God." Before I knew love, the realization. This is about me, like just going through like the COVID hit. I wasn't sure about what I wanted to do with my life, and I was just going through it. A lot of times when I write, it's like a train of thought. I'm just writing and just letting whatever come through. And sometimes strange things happen when you write like that. Like God might actually speak to you when you're writing. So this is one of the pieces I wrote when I was going through that. It's called "Oh My God." Before I knew love. Before I knew love, 'twas I in the lake of dire, till I found myself speechless to your sweet sacred fire. Before I knew love, 'twas I without sight, till I sighed neath the clouds in thy silence of the night. Before I knew love, I would detest the rain pouring, till I witnessed the drops in the plain, and found them to be arresting and alluring. Before I knew love, I felt alone all around, till I would hearest wondrous sounds from thy earth's uttermost bounds. Before I knew love, any love, I would be aching and fear it, till you sent angels for mine heart breaking, which would engulf mine raging spirit. Before I knew love, I would self-loathe over things that I did, till you gavest me rest, I suppose, for mine weak and withered eyelids. Before I knew love, 'twas I exiled in a foreign land. Now I smile and meditating upon precepts I have yet to comprehend. Before I knew love, I had not a clue what to do. till you whispered in my darkness and said the patient light was you. Before I knew love, 'twas I dying of a wretched thirst, till you found me naked and quenched me with the truth that 'twas you who loved me first.
That's deep right
So that
there.
was
Yeah, I think you know
thank you.
what? I think that's one of the ones I was glancing over last night as well.
Yeah,
That was one of the ones that captured me as well, because it's a
yeah,
before piece, right? Before
yeah.
the world's definition of love. I'll be honest, man. I was sucking on that lollipop before you know God
Okay.
transformed my way of thinking. So the form of love that the world offers, everybody's pretty much down with it because it has to do with a lot of about our senses, our five senses: hearing, touch, smell, sight, and all that good stuff. But
Yeah,
that right there, that piece, before I knew love. So in other words,
yeah,
you knew something, but it was like
yeah,
almost like a pseudo or almost like a false reality of the definition of love. And then as you
yeah.
progress, because I like to, I'm a lyricist. Like I like to see lyrics, and I could rap that stuff, because I'm saying
Mm,
I know what the lyrics are saying, and it moves you from a position of one way of thinking to try to meditate on another way of thinking, another idea,
yeah,
another precept, another concept, and
yeah.
it's challenging as well because if there's a
Absolutely.
before, that means there's an after, right?
Hmm.
So somewhere
Yes.
in between there, I believe we all have to make some sort of decision on the definition of love. You have another one for us?
Sure, I do. This one is called the Forever Moment of Now. Now, because the world is always going so fast and changing, and sometimes it's always good to just be in the moment. So this piece is called the Forever Moments of Now. Life may hurt you. Pretend friends may deceive you. Your children will grow up. Then eventually they will leave you. Lovers may fail you. Setbacks may derail you. Dreams are often put on hold with other plans that fell through. All of life is but a play. We perform the best way we know how. So rejoice with gratitude and acceptance in the forever moments of now.
Mm,
And I was
that's
just
good.
that one is just about thank you, about just being in the moment. Like there's the when you're playing with your kids, and I used to go through that. I would get so stressed out with stuff and not take time to play with my kids. And those are the moments that you really have to cherish because kids they'll grow up, and then you won't be able to get them on the phone after a while. They'll be so busy doing their thing, and
Yeah.
you'll miss those moments when they were trying to talk to you, daddy, daddy, and and trying to get your attention. So and also things that you love to do, do those things and be in the moment with those. So that piece is about me just falling in love with the moment, the forever moment of now, because those things. There's people in my life that are no longer that were in my life years ago that aren't here anymore,
Yeah. Right.
and the things that you think about are those moments, those forever moments when you laughed or when they tripped over something, when they fell and tried to play it off, anything that happened that was funny. Those are those forever moments, and
Wow.
we have to be in that forever moment of now. It's whatever you're doing. If you're loving it, that's going to be a forever moment. So
Yeah.
that's what that piece was about.
Yeah. I learned in my toughest times in life when I was facing the toughest struggles in life. Um, this man, he was always telling me this, and it stuck with me. He says, today you might be, struggling, pressured, going through a life issue, but tomorrow always comes. So he said the
Mhm.
time that you have now is to learn from, because tomorrow is going to come. Because I was trying to make everybody else feel my pain. I
Oh,
was hoping that if I was hurting, I was hoping that you were hurt too. But
mhm.
tomorrow comes. So we can't
Yeah,
stay in that present time and that present struggle when tomorrow comes. And then the next day comes. And you start noticing that when that struggle came, it was, let's say, it was January of this year. Now we're in August, going into August, all right, of the next year, of the same year. You look back and say, man, that was 9, 10 months ago, 8 months ago, 9 months ago. You're no longer there. So to cherish the
yeah,
moment that we have now, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm guilty of it
absolutely.
because I have a 1 year old and I have a 7 year old daughter. And I get the juices of creativity. I try to come into the studio, write something, lay a beat down or something, and they come in, and I've been guilty of, oh, I'll talk to you in a minute. And you can see on their faces when they turn around,
Mm.
they're like, we wanted that minute. So I
Yeah,
pretty much gave into that now. Now when they come in, I could be real busy. I could have been doing this right here, this interview, and they would have walked in. I would have had to give them that minute, that time, because we can never get it back. So that's very true, man, and it's very
true.
heartfelt. So where can we get these books? I know you took a picture of you in Barnes and Noble, right? It must be incredible,
exactly,
man. It must be incredible
to
see your work, your hard work at a place where there's authors and Barnes and Nobles, there's authors in that place, that bookshop that have sold millions and millions upon millions of books, best-selling authors, number one best-selling Times authors and all this other stuff. And you see your book there, man, like right next to everybody. How did that feel?
Like I said, it was surreal, man. Like when I started going to different, I'm like, is that really, are they playing? And I would go. I don't know if you see them on Facebook. I would film myself walking in, and see my book on the shelf. And one time I went in there and there was a girl that had my book. She's like, "Oh my God, it's you!" And she was like, because I didn't realize that they don't always see the artists that make the books in person. That never occurred to me. She's like, "Oh my God!" She grabbed the book. She's like, "I can't believe it's you." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just."
She was starstruck. Did you autograph it?
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I autographed it. She bought the book, but I'm like, I gotta. That comes with that. People, they can't believe that because you don't usually see the artists that make the books in person. It's like so. Then I thought about it. I'm like, you don't really see them unless they're in a book signing. I just came in there just to.
You might be onto something. You might be onto.
So I just came in there just to.
Going to bookstores where they have your book. Go to the section of poetry or whatever they put the section in, your book in whatever section, and hang out. That might be a new thing. You might be onto something right there. Yeah.
I started doing that.
So they can find that Barnes and Noble online.
Online.
Where else can they find it?
They have it on Walmart online as well.
Nice.
And whatever country they're in. Like I just saw that my book is I'm blessed that it's in Germany. If you go online and put Poems for You and Yours, it's in Germany, London, the UK. It's basically all over the world. Whatever country you're in, just put the title in, and it'll come up whether it's online or it's in one of their bookstores. Like I have my book in one of the bookstores in London. Mm-hmm. And like I've been in London like a while ago, and I always thought it was a great place, for writers to have my book in stores there. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. So it all depends what country they're in. If they just go online, they can probably definitely find it in their country or city where they're at.
Wow.
But it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Nobles, it's on, like I said, Walmart's website. I'm blessed. It's everywhere, man.
Amen. This is great, man. I'm so happy to see my brother happy. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that it takes a lot of hard work, effort. When a dream comes and it seems like it's further away than what we anticipated. I'm telling you, a lot of people I know unfortunately gave up. And I'm like, how about if you was just like a step away from reaching your goal, man? And you would have gave up, and then you pass on, and then you meet the Lord, you meet your Maker, and he was like, man, what happened? Why'd you give up? Oh man, I thought it was too far. And then he unveils what would have happened. You was a step away. I watched the game on TV, Deal or No Deal. They have the cases. They had to pick the number in the cases, and there was an episode there that I think it was a man. He had the $1 million in the case because you pick a case where you think the $1 million would be, and they put it right next to you. And he was going on, and the pressure hit him, and he settled for, I think it was like $200,000. And then, they have to see what would have happened. What would have panned out if he would have kept on going. He kept on hitting these numbers. He was like, got to the last one. It was like, let's see if you made a good deal or not. And when they opened up that case, man, the $1 million was right next to him. So I don't know how he must have felt. I mean, he got some money, but knowing that he was so close to the jackpot, so close to the $1 million, because the $1 million could really change your life. A lot of people are living that way, man. They were like one case away. It's literally right on the side of them or right in front of them. And they say, nah, it's never going to happen. So when I see a brother like zO-AlonzO continue his dream and with family, right? I'm pretty sure he has some ups and he has some downs, but he kept on going for it. He keeps on going for it. That's inspiring. And I know somebody's right now is inspired about his story and his writing. And if you haven't gotten the book yet, Poems for You and Yours, what are you waiting for? I got mine complimentary of the author himself. Amen. And look, as far as I've known him, he's always been a giving person, you know what I'm saying? Talented, gifted, giving, very friendly, very cordial, you know what I mean? He was a little. I knew you were different because you weren't really like some other people I was working with. About
Yeah.
let's do this, let's do that. You were more like focused. We were
Yeah.
younger, right? But
Oh
you were
yeah.
more like one of the focused ones. And I had another brother I used to work with. We used to call him Stella. Same thing. He was different. He was like
Hmm.
more focused on what he wanted to do and what he was planning out in his mind, and he didn't really
Yeah.
lose track of that as well. So
Yeah.
5-star rating. He's getting awards all over the place. The availability is getting all over the place as well in countries that he might not be able to go to right now. But I'm hoping
Yeah.
that on a book signing, on a book tour, he'll be able to go to those people and greet them in person, because that's next level right there. So,
Yeah.
anything else you want to discuss, man, and let the people know
Well,
about this whole journey? From how, first of all, these were compilations, right? So one of these poems could probably be like what, 5, 10 years old, right?
uh, no, actually, I wrote those between the span of 2019 to 2021.
Oh, so none of
So those
this.
are
This
all
is all new
organic.
stuff then. So it's
Yeah,
pretty
they're
much
all
compiled
like
for
new
the last
stuff.
2 years. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
maybe some of these were like poetry that you've written before, and you just say, you know what, I'm
Oh
gonna just
no.
grab that, extract that, and put it in here, because I know you have other
Oh no. They
publications
were
as
all.
well, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because those are all like for made for that, and I just like I said, I wrote maybe like 200 to 300 pieces, and I just put 44 poems that I thought fit in that book in there. But I have other pieces that I go into other books in the future. But they were all organic that I made,
Wow.
between 2019 and so I was really trying to work. But I wanted to touch on something you said a while ago about the awards, and that if you're into numbers, the number 10 of the completion. Um, it's in 2012 I won my first award, the Best Spoken Word Poet at the Lehigh Valley Music Awards. Since then, I put out another book. I didn't get a whole lot of accolades after that in 2018 with my other book. And it was a full 10 years, which is this year from 2012 that I've gotten at least three awards that I already got. And I'm up for the Poet Laureate for the United States from the World Foundation. So from 2012 to 2022, that was the whole 10 years I was still staying at it. But I believe that was a completion time for me, that 10 years. And I think God was testing me to see, let me see if he really loves us. I'm going to give him a decade and not give him like no awards and see if he still, and if he sticks with it in 10 years, I'll bless the book, with a lot of accolades and give it its season. So I
Wow.
believe that's what's happening. That's why I believe that's what's happening now. Cause I, like you said, I stayed with it. I'll be honest. I saw too many whack artists that just stayed with their stuff and made a living. I said, you know what? If they can just believe in themselves and keep going, and they're being rewarded, because God doesn't reward the dope artist. He rewards the diligent person.
Mm,
It says that in
yes.
the Bible. He says it doesn't reward the. He didn't say I reward the dopest MC. He rewards the diligent. And some
Hmm.
of the artists that you may look down on, they're more diligent than me, and that's the
Yeah.
honest truth. They were just putting out more stuff and more diligent, and they got their season. So I said, let me just keep at it, and hopefully God will bless the book, the work in this season,
Yeah,
and
and that's a
what's
universal
going on.
principle, man. Seed time, harvest time. You keep on planting
Yeah,
those seeds, and the harvest is coming. And in that
yeah,
process of that 10-year waiting process, yeah, God was testing you, making sure where He's at. And now, what I sense and what I see, acceleration. So it might
yeah,
have been 10 years, or it might have been a hard time waiting on the process or going through the process. But as soon as it was released, it looks like God took the book and accelerated it. He took your
yeah,
poetry and accelerated it. And now
yeah.
people are like, oh, wow, you heard of this guy, this whatever, awards everywhere, And to get the 5-star rating is not as easy as people think. There's
No,
people
it's
out
not.
there that never got a 5-star rating, not even one.
Yeah,
And then when you get them, I'm pretty sure it humbles you and be like, man, there's literally people buying my book, reading my book, and getting into my thought pattern. And by that, God's being glorified because God gave you some,
exactly.
of those thoughts, those principles, those precepts. You wrote it on paper.
Mhm.
You're the vessel you wanted to use to put this down. That's why I always know people, we are uniquely made for a purpose and plan that God has.
Mhm.
I might not be able to reach the people that Zoe is reaching. Zoe might not be able to reach the people that I'm reaching, but together, collectively, we can reach the world, man, for the
Yeah,
cause of something greater. and it's something greater. So I really don't get into debates anymore with people about, God, about, Jesus the Christ, the Lord, and him being sovereign. I just listen
Yeah.
now. I listen more than when I speak because everybody has a story. But if you look at the story of pretty much every single person that I've met, the story is kind of the same. They're in a struggle somehow, some way. They came to a place where they kind of get out of the struggle. They kind of got out of it, but now they're on a pursuit. And it's either two things. Either they're pursuing truth or they're pursuing happiness. Either they're in a
Mm.
pursuit for truth or pursuit for happiness. Everybody wants that. But
Yeah.
truth, amen, then now you're going to see some things when you're talking about
Yeah.
truth, when you're writing about truth, when we're speaking truth. Happiness is circumstantial. Happiness is when,
Yeah.
okay, I sold 1 million of these books. I'm happy, right?
Mm.
But truth, right, has no like it's not based upon what I believe, not based upon what you believe. It's based on the evidence, and when we see the evidence of the truth working in our lives, then you see where that's going to take you. And evidently,
Yeah.
it's taking my bro zO-AlonzO to a higher level. So, how
Yeah.
did this all mix up with your artistry as being a rap artist, and now you're getting more places and venues, right? Based on the book, or did it go hand in hand? Like, is the book helping your rapping, or is the rapping helping your book? How does it run now?
It's like they're both working in conjunction together because I came from a rap background. Like I
Mm-hmm.
did work with you with studio. So when I tell people when they read my book, what you're basically reading is like their rap lyrics. Like some of the pieces I have, like they're more like they're like rap lyrics. And there are people that told me I don't like rap, but I like your stuff. But it's because it's a little different. Like I said, I come from a rap background, but I also studied the literature. So those things they just stay together, and I think God wanted me to have that background. And that's what I think makes the work different because you don't get many writers and poets that also can quote Nas or J. Cole and also quote Shakespeare. You don't usually get that, And I'm
Yeah,
and I'm blessed to be able to have that, and I think that's what makes the work different. They're like there's something different about it. Plus, if you look at the book, I put like those little symbols and stuff in there, and the fours and twos and
yeah.
all that. That's from
There's some
looking
great
at.
artwork. There's some great photos and
Thank you.
artwork in here
Great.
too, man. So some
Yeah, my wife did some work in there. The first
look at
poem
this
in there,
one
my
right
wife
here.
did.
Look at that.
Yeah,
You know
that
what
was
I
my
mean?
friend from
It's
Paris.
amazing,
I
amazing. It's a
was
good
blessed to
work,
have her.
man. It's a good work.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
And the
but I
size of
just
the book, what made you bring it to that size, like the bigger, larger size?
just I remember the kids books I would read when I was little. I said, let me make it so, and I didn't without my glasses, I don't see that well, so I'm sensitive to people that want to be able to read it and be able to
Right.
have easy reading without having their glasses on.
Large
That was
print.
very important to me. Large
Yeah.
print, and I also wanted to look like an album. If you look at the book, it looks like an album. If you look at the back cover, my wife and my son, he did the abstract. He was 2 years old when he did that. We were so blown away. Our son's a full fledged artist, and I loved it so much. We put it on the back cover. He did it years ago before I even put the book out. But I said when I put my book out, and so he does all my back covers now. He's little, but he does even for my future books. He's doing so. I'm encouraging that, and it's like I said, my wife's also an artist. She's like I said, she's a powerhouse, man. She does everything, the singing, she raps, she
Wow.
paints. So our kids are blessed to have those things too.
Hmm.
But he's one of my main artists, my wife and my son. So it's definitely a family affair, and I want people to see that feel that community when they see the
Yeah.
book because like, he's credited in the book as well as one of the artists, and I think he's one of the youngest. They said he's one of the youngest uh, artists to have a book that won Best Book of the Year.
Wow.
He's only 5 now, and he did that when he
So look
was
at that.
2.
History is
Yeah,
being made, right? History in the making,
yeah,
man. History in the
and that makes me
making.
feel good. And
So what
but
do
I
you have
was
coming up? Do you have anything coming up? So from the time of this recording, because I know after a while the recording will get dated, but from the time of this recording, on what do you have coming up for like, a couple of weeks or months?
Yeah, well, in August we have my wife and we have a publishing company called C Royal Publishing, and we partner with my cousin's Smash Entertainment label, and we're putting something together called the Royale Kings and Queens of Poetry, which we're filming on August 26th at the Civic Theater in Allentown, and that's going to be filmed in front of a live audience. But it's also going to be on different networks, like
Nice.
Netflix, HBO, and we're trying to get that out. Probably next year that'll come out. I'm also working on like just like I told you before the audio book, the audio music and sound books. I want to do like a book of my poetry, but I'm reading it, but I want to act it out and have music and make it feel like a movie as well. So I'm working on that. Have another film I'm doing in October, end of October, and just my album. I'm finally gonna put out a CD of my music, another rap CD, and I'm just staying busy, man. I'm grateful to be up for like 3 or 4 more awards before the year is out, and then next year there's a few more awards that I'm up for. So I'm just letting the book, I'm giving it time to fly because like when I
Yeah.
first put the book out, when COVID hit, I lost like a year of being able to promote that because I couldn't go to the bookstores.
Right.
So I'm giving my book that extra time. Like by the end of 2023, I'll be done promoting it and doing things. And I'm also doing like a play at the theater next year where I'm going to be acting out all the poems for my book. I
Wow.
can have other actors and doing that. So I'm just giving it time to fly and do what it does before I start the new book. But I like to give it, at least another year or so and let
Wow.
people digest it. Let it, So we're just, like I said, there's other stuff I don't know what God has planned that's coming. Those are the things that I know of. But they said the best way to make God laugh is to tell him your plan. So I can say this, God. So I got something different for you in mind or something bigger.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah,
keep
but
an
it's
open
good to
mind,
plan.
But
It's good to plan because if you don't plan, you
yeah,
lose your
definitely,
plan to fail. But it's
that's
great,
true.
man. It's good to hear. I'm so happy, humbled, and I'm actually inspired, man, to continue doing what I was doing as well. So, poems for you and yours, and it says all selections conceived, written, and arranged by Zoe himself. So this is an amazing piece of work. If you haven't got it already, go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart.com. Pretty sure other big chains will start picking it up, and
Yep.
he'll release that as soon as you could get at those different um, areas as well. So awards, I'll be putting these awards that he's been getting down below in the details of the video from whatever platform you're listening or watching from, and we'll stay connected with Alonzo Zoe, so that way we can know where he's at, where's the venues, what he's doing, what him and his family are getting into when it comes to the whole artistry and the poetic side of his life, also as a rapper, as a dancer, as a father, a husband. You know what I mean? It keeps on going and
Yeah,
going and
yeah,
going, and
yeah,
basically living implant, like you're living your thumbprint in this world, right?
yeah,
So, and what happens is when you do that, then your children, they look at your thumbprint on this earth and then they say, well, my dad did this, I want to continue doing that. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
then they'll leave and it continues. That's what we call legacy. So it starts with
Yep.
what's in here. We get it from here to our heart, and then from our heart through our mouths, write it down, speak it. It'll be a lot of challenges because I've been doing this
Hmm.
ministry since 2000 and I think 7 or 8, and it's been
Hmm.
challenges, to keep the network going, to see the radio flourish. We're reaching over 1 million a year listeners on the Stellar Radio Network now, and quietly,
Hmm.
nobody gets awards, no one gets the accolades, and we only have like maybe 2 or 3 supporters all through those years. But God
No.
supplies the need, right? And we just rely on Him, we trust on Him, we continue our dreams, and we continue moving forward. So, thank you for your time, man. I know you're a busy man, but thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
Thanks
coming
for having me.
through and accepting the invitation. And I thank you for sharing your dream with others and continue to move forward. Poems for you and yours. The author and the poet right here, Alonzo, zO-AlonzO. I know him as Zoe. Amen. So
Yeah.
it's all good, man, over here. So get ready. I'm going to be putting some details and everything and posting and following him. If you haven't followed him already, follow him on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. What is your at? Like if they want to follow you on the social media.
It's at Zoe Alonzo Gross. Real simple.
There you
At
go.
Zoe Alonzo
zO-AlonzO
Gross.
Gross. So follow him
Yep.
there. And till the next time, God bless you all. God keep you all. You already know what it is. God is good. Peace.
Peace.